Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History Spiritual Quest. Hi, Gunn. Hi, Pamela. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. We are in Chapter 12 of the Impersonal Life, and we're going to try to make a lot of headway in that today. Getting through the Impersonal Life text, that's always our toughest challenge, but we're going to push through a lot of it. And we're also going to see an echo from Elvis. Hi, City of Angels girl. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. We're going to do it all when we get back from this song. This is He Carried Light.
In the margins of the pages his voice still speaks, whispers of longing, of love that seeks. Lisa saw the notes, every thought, every prayer, a father's searching heart still breathing there. To do your will and my purpose he wrote, a bridge of devotion, a living note. Through the Bible's lines, through the books he kept, the light of his spirit forever swept. Like a bridge through the troubled night, he carried love, he carried light. Every word, every song, every plea was a path to unity. He showed the way and we will follow, through joy, through pain, through each tomorrow. The unseen hand, the guiding flame, love eternal in his name. To held the book with gold on its face, the impersonal life, his sacred place. Larry gave the gift and Elvis was changed. New doors opened, horizons rearranged. He is within us at all times, he said. A chorus of hope where the faithful are led. Fans sent their prayers, their Bibles the song, and Elvis carried their faith along. Like a bridge through the troubled night, he carried love, he carried light. Every word, every song, every plea was a path to unity. He showed the way and we will follow, through joy, through pain, through each tomorrow. The unseen hand, the guiding flame, love eternal in his name. Show me the way and I will follow. His voice was a prayer through joy and sorrow. The road to seek it never ends. His journey became the gift of friends. From cousin to co-star, from friend to kin, the spirit he carried was shared within. I will sing his praises for all to hear, a song of salvation, a love sincere. Like a bridge through the troubled night, he carried love, he carried light. Every word, every song, every plea was a path to unity. He showed the way and we will follow, through joy, through pain, through each tomorrow. The unseen hand, the guiding flame, love eternal in his name. There's got to be a reason, he said, a purpose unseen, a life spirit led. And through the notes, the prayers, the song, his bridge of love still carries on.
Thank you all for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And today we will hear echoes from Elvis Presley, but first we're going to hear them from Joseph Benner out of The Impersonal Life, Chapter 12. And I just want to talk for a moment about the people that Elvis gifted this book to. You know, he would annotate portions of The Impersonal Life. maybe a lot more than we've ever seen. I don't know that we've seen all of the pages out of any of the copies that we've looked at that Elvis actually wrote on. I don't know that pictures of those are truly available to us. But he gave this to them with his annotations, hoping the annotations would help bring them into the text. And as we've gone through this series, you know, we look at the comic book version of the Gospels, and that is very fun. And then we read the book of John after we've read those gospel comics, and that's a lot of fun too, because it just makes it a lot, like you can see it in your head easier as you read through the Bible. And then we get back to Joseph Benner, and every time I think, do we have to go through another one of these spirals? And the answer is yes, because we've learned so much from these spirals, and I've put together so much about what Elvis is thinking by being able to see the resonance from this book into the book of John and other pieces of the Bible and in other spiritual texts that we've seen portions of, like the prophet. So the answer is yes, we have to keep going and go through the spiral, but the poor people that Elvis gave this book to, and he thought they would make it all the way through by themselves, I just don't see how it's possible for most of them. I don't know that any of us could have sat down and just read this book through. Now, I did meet another Elvis fan a few days ago, and she told me she'd read the entire book, but it hadn't made a lot of sense to her, and she'd kind of moved on from it, and hadn't been able to really fit it into Elvis's life, I don't think, other than it was a book that he'd read, and now she'd read, and they shared that together. But by yourself, this is a difficult text. So it's good that we've all come together to get through this. And Big Money Mike is saying that he has a blood clot in his leg and foot from neuropathy and is asking for prayers. Well, I hope that you get better from that soon. I have neuropathy in my feet as well, so I have not had any issues with the blood clot, so I definitely feel for you here. And Pamela and Jen are mentioning that Louie's actually been able to make it to the IMAX to see Epic. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Jen's mentioning that she has neuropathy too. I think it's fairly common in society today, and that most of us just don't know it. That younger people aren't as aware of neuropathy as some older folks. And Mike's saying that it's very painful. Well, let's step into this text and re-enter the impersonal life. It says, well, it was just telling us that sometimes we feel like we're receiving the words of the text or the inspired ideas from the I am who lives in our heart. That's Jesus. That's where we talk to God in your heart. That sometimes we get these inspirations and ideas and we think, oh, that's something that I need to save for the future because I'm not in the right position to take advantage of that idea right now. So this text says, perhaps the particular position in life you now occupy, you do not think the best adapted for the expression of my idea surging within you. If so, then why not step out of that position into the one of your choice? The mere fact that you cannot or do not do this proves that at this time, such position is the one best suited to awaken in you certain qualities necessary for my perfect expression. So there is a dialogue going on here in the text, and we've replied, we can't really take advantage of this idea. We're not in the right position. It's something for the future. I can't write the book I've been thinking about right now because I have X, Y, and Z in front of me that need to be accomplished first. Or I'm not old enough to do that yet. Or someday when I have been promoted, I will be able to take advantage of this idea. And then the I am responds, or Joseph Benner, since it's Joseph writing it, but as the I am, and says, if so, then why not step out of that position into one of your choice? So this is a challenge. Why not just change where you're at? Well, this is kind of difficult. I'm not sure that most people could change where they're at. That is advice that you receive about your career a lot, though, from other people, that if you're not happy in your career, why not get a new one? And that is true to an extent. From a 30,000 foot level, that is what you need to do. But right there in the forest where you're looking right at the trees, you got to keep making that next paycheck, right? So you don't just step out of one life and into another, out of one position and into another. You can transition. But I don't think that the challenge here is meant to be accepted as, well, yes, you could just change at any time. Because then it says the fact that you cannot or the fact that you are where you are at the moment, that you're here in this spot while I'm giving you this idea, well, that it proves that this is the right time for the idea. That God knows where we're at and when we need the inspiration. It's us who doesn't recognize the right timing. That God lives in the divine now. He's outside of time. It does not affect him. He does not see things sequentially. And therefore, he knows exactly when to give us what we need. And it goes on and says that, in fact, at this moment, you're best suited with your specific certain qualities. That the film strip that filters the undifferentiated light of the I am, the love that comes through from your heart, that we are a film strip that filters that to bring out specific meaning that is then projected so that others can, other divine shards can take that knowledge and incorporate it in themselves as part of their film strips. That your particular filter in this moment, whatever film strip cell is in the projector at the moment, it's the right one. That's why you're chosen with the idea. It was gifted to you for this moment. Because you have the certain qualities. That's the filter. That's the film strip. That's the specific film cell that is necessary for my perfect expression. That your filter will leave exactly from the light what God wants others to know as a distinct idea, as distinct knowledge, separated from what we would think of as the cacophony of the complete light. And it's not chaos. It's just that we can't see that much order at once. We can't take it in. And so it's got to be filtered down to these perfect expressions. And that I, your own self, am compelling you to remain therein until you can recognize my purpose and meaning hidden within the power such position has to disturb your peace of mind and keep you thus dissatisfied. So you're in the position in life you're in because you need to be there. Now that might fly counter to what a lot of us are thinking at the moment about our lives, that we're in a place that we would prefer to move on from. And it's recognizing that in the text, that you are thus dissatisfied, that you know there's more to ahead and you want to get there, but we can't get there because we haven't built the necessary block here to build upon for the next step. And that you will have to continue to circle this particular piece of knowledge until the right piece filters through your film strip so that others can see it properly. So if you are misaligned, because Joseph Benner talks about alignment and misalignment, and that was earlier in the book. Here in chapter 12, there's an expectation that if you're at this point that you're struggling with the inspiration and the ideas that are being given to you by the divine, that you are already aligned, that you have found a way to come to alignment and to reorient when necessary, that you are receiving the message, that your conduit is widening and opening, and that this is where you need to be circling at this moment. And that you're recognizing that as you consciously serve, that's what's going to move you up this spiral. And that those who are truly misaligned, that have not found their orientation, that cannot see the light or hear the love that is being transmitted, at least not clearly, that they have the same kind of dissatisfaction, but they have no idea why they're dissatisfied, and they're not spinning in a spiral around an idea. They're spiraling around the need to align. So we're already up the spiral a little bit by the time Joseph is talking about this idea. And Elizabeth is saying, that kind of makes me feel better to know that it is probably where I need to be at. Well, it's exactly where you need to be at. And that something's being told to you in many, many different ways. And that even when you hear it, the moving on and up the spiral might not change your position in your earthly life. It will just move you up the spiral, which isn't necessarily the same as earthly promotions or the job that you have or whatever physical limitations might be trapping you in this life. That's not necessarily what it's talking about. But it is saying that it disturbs your peace of mind. And disturbing your peace of mind is a fog to the I am. Disturbing your peace of mind is the same as saying you hit a bump and you misaligned. You were driving your car, you just had that front end alignment done, you hit a giant pothole, suddenly you've got to go back to the shop and have it redone. Not really your fault. They didn't repair the road in this case. And you couldn't see it coming up, and bam, you hit it. Maybe burst your tire, and there's got to be repairs done. You've got to realign. But this is indicating that you're on a very rough road because it keeps disturbing your peace of mind. And that part of getting past whatever this is to be still and know I am God. That removes the disturbance from the peace of your mind. And he's letting you know that all is well, even though you're disturbed. Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And then it says, when you recognize my meaning and determine to make my purpose your purpose, then and then only will I give you the strength to step out of that position into a higher I have provided for you. So it talks about moving into another position, one that's higher and that's already ready for you in a way. One that the I am or God or Jesus or the Holy Spirit will provide for you. But again, a position isn't necessarily a job. You know, Elvis was a superstar, but this passage isn't saying, I'm going to take you into a different place in the earthly realm and you won't be a superstar, but it'll be a higher position. I think this would be telling Elvis, I'm going to take you into a position where the songs that you sing will have more meaning. They will reach more people with the message that I intend. If we move down, it says, perhaps the husband or the wife I have given you. So I think this is part of the position. You know, we hear position, and I maybe because of my human resources background, I immediately think of your job, your career, the way that society sees you as an earner. But here, this is about the husband and the wife, so it's your position in your family, in your immediate family, and in the relationship between yourself and your spouse. And it says, perhaps the husband or the wife I have given you, you think is far from being suited to you. That's a really sad thought, huh? That you're married to someone that wasn't suited for you. Why did you marry someone that wasn't suited for you? He hasn't addressed that yet, but I'm sure that he is talking to many, many, many people that feel this, that they are with someone that they're not actually suited for. Or that's not suited for them, is the way this is being stated. You think is far from being suited to you or one capable of helping along your spiritual awakening. Now, when we think about Elvis, and Elvis reading this text, and it says husband and wife, now he received this in 1964 before he was married, but he read it many times after 1967, and he never had more than one wife. So how could he not have thought of Priscilla as he read this? And did he think her far from being suited to himself? Well, he didn't in 1967, but within a few years, I think he may have. And one capable of helping along your spiritual awakening, he tried to bring Priscilla along on this journey with him, but she fell away fairly quickly. She feels like it lasted a long time that she tried to hang on, but it was fairly quickly. And at that point, it would have been very obvious that she was not capable of helping along your spiritual awakening, or at least it would have seemed that way to Elvis. It would have been a very strong feeling, I think. Others have described it something like that, and she describes it as she was trying to maintain interest because he was interested, which that's not going to bring you to any spiritual awakening. It is a kind of a nice thought, but it's not going to help you come to a spiritual awakening. And Elizabeth says that she really liked that last paragraph. When you recognize my meaning and determine to make my purpose your purpose, then and then only will I give you the strength to step out of that position into a higher I have provided for you. And Gunn says, I have given you, and it doesn't talk about our own choice. It does not say anything about free will right here. But there's a clash of free wills here. Both the husband and the wife, they both use their free will. And perhaps what is being referenced here is that the divine shards were brought together in the first place through the agency of the divine. But it is not referencing choice. It does not say that. You are correct. Maybe it'll get to that. And then Gunn says, God gave Elvis Priscilla. Yes. Just as he gave us everybody in our lives, even the ones we don't like. And Big Money Mike says, that's happened to me before, not being with the right person. Well, this text is going to indicate that you were with the right person. But let's move, we'll get into that in a minute. It's going to kind of twist this around, I think. And Jen says that Priscilla did not want to go on Elvis's spiritual journey. And Gunn says that if God knew that she didn't want to go on his spiritual journey, why give her to him? Well, that's exactly the reason. You've put your finger right on it. Hi, Tori. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Big Money Mike says Priscilla and so many of the Memphis Mafia members did not want to be in Elvis's spiritual journey. Mike is noticing it too. This is why these people have come to the shepherd. They need to be shepherded. The sheep know the voice of the shepherd and they flock to him. And Tori says that Priscilla mocked his spiritual books. Yes. She's one of the lost sheep. And Deborah says Priscilla was brought up in a Catholic home and Elvis was brought up Pentecostal so she wouldn't change. That is true. I don't know how deeply held Priscilla held those beliefs because she did become a Scientologist. But again, I can't see into somebody's heart. I would never try to guess what is truly in Priscilla's heart. But she did have exposure to Catholicism. She did go to a Catholic high school. That's where she graduated from in Memphis. So she knew all of the Catholic rituals. She even showed them to Donna Presley. She took Donna Presley to a service once. Donna was kind of impressed by the rituals that the Catholic Church uses. And Adrian, hi Adrian, thank you for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. I don't think I've ever seen you in chat before, so welcome. And they're asking if anyone's seen Epic and they're excited because they're going this weekend. And Jen's pointing out that sometimes the wrong people are put in our path for a reason. When they're put in your path for a reason, they're not the wrong people. That's, I think, what this text is pointing out. They're the right people, even though we believe they're the wrong people. And Tori says that Priscilla helped burn his books. That is true. Although Elvis later told Larry Geller it was only the books he didn't like. The ones that he didn't feel had resonance. And Jen's pointing out that she went yesterday to see Epic at IMAX. It was amazing and emotional in a good way. And Mike saying that I've given a point of perspective that he's never realized. I've probably already forgotten what it is in the last few minutes. It's hard to keep everything in my mind as we move through this chat. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Deborah says that she held the Catholic faith till Scientology. That's just such an odd move, though, right? Like, that just seems strange to me. Although we'd have to look at that in more detail for me to give decent commentary on that. And Gunn says, but to some people, God gives their soulmates. Well, that's what this chapter's titled, is Soulmates. So maybe he's going to get to something about that. But I understand what you're saying, too, that there are people that do help each other willingly and consciously on their spiritual journey. Or in other ways that, well, I guess the spiritual journey would be the only way to be a soulmate, right? I'm not sure. And Big Money Mike is saying he's not seen Epic yet, that the IMAX theaters are too far away. And Tori's saying that Elvis was vulnerable when he met Priscilla. His mom had passed, and he didn't know how his career was going to pan out after the army. That is all true. I don't really think that Elvis began to deal directly with the loss of his mom until 1964, really. That there was, he obviously had to deal with it before that, but that he began to deal with it through these books by looking for this resonance in so many other places. And part of that was the death of Gladys. Deborah says she's going March 3rd to see Epic, so she's got it planned. And Jen says that she thinks that people are a lesson even when they're wrong. And that she has so much to say about this that she wishes there was sound in the chat. I've been thinking about that a little bit. There is possibilities that I could bring people into the their voices or even their cameras into the chat, but I haven't really looked into it yet. I haven't felt like we've really had enough people in the chat to make that viable, but if you guys think that would be fun, let me know in the chat in the comments, and I might be looking at upgrading that at some time in the next few months. And let's return to this passage in the book. It says, perhaps the husband or the wife I have given you, you think is far from being suited to you, or one capable of helping along your spiritual awakening, being only a hindrance and a detriment instead. That's a terrible way to think about your spouse too, isn't it? This is someone that is, I don't know, it's speaking to a lot of people I know, but it's just a terrible place to be in, right? You'd have to have some compassion for these people, and you have to wonder how the spouse feels if you feel like this. But I'm getting away from the text, and it says, and you may even be secretly contemplating leaving, or wishing you could leave that one for another who sympathizes and joins with you in your aspirations and seeking, and therefore seems more nearly your ideal. I think this is a very, very lengthy, wordy way to ask exactly what Gunn asked in the chat, which was, I think, but to some people, God gives their soulmates. That's what this is saying, that there's soulmates that are given, or that we think of as soulmates, and why didn't we get one of those? And Deborah says there is a reason why people come into our lives, no matter good or bad, it's a lesson. And Carolyn says that she and her husband are complete opposites personality-wise, but they both have strong faith in the Lord, and they balance each other out. And Elizabeth says that she would never want her voice to be heard, so she would not be calling in if I was able to make that happen. And that's absolutely fine. And I know there's also a lot of people that never chat and they don't leave any comments, and that's fine too. You know, everybody likes to experience these live streams in their own personal way, and I support all of those methods, but I do enjoy hearing from each and every one of you. So whatever way you would like to choose to communicate with me, I appreciate it. And Tori says, Priscilla says Elvis was the love of her life, but she has done so much damage to his legacy and allowing untruths to be portrayed out in her films. She has definitely crafted a legend and a myth out there, and it's been running since about 1974, before Elvis passed away. And we've looked at it in some of the tabloids that I've done in Tabloid Treasures and things like that, and they're going to keep popping up. We'll be looking at more of that. And so let's move on to this next paragraph that will hopefully tell us why we didn't get a soulmate. And it says, "You may run away from my first choice, if you will, but you know that you cannot run away from your own personality." This seems to be an implication that if your first marriage failed, and I think we have to think of marriage here and not just relationship, because he is talking about spouse, because he's mentioned, let me make sure I'm saying that right, husband and wife. Yeah, so this is spouse, someone you've made a commitment to. So that's not just a relationship. This is a committed relationship, one that's supposed to be for life. And that you may run away from my first choice, if you will, but you know that you cannot run away from your own personality. And it's kind of saying, hey, you know why it failed? Your personality was in that mix. That's kind of the same as saying that normally divorces don't happen due to one side. They tend to be problems on both sides. And we have to recognize those issues within ourselves that caused us to, what is being said here is, run away. Now, I think a lot of people would be offended by that and feel that they did not run away, that they made their own choice to leave, but it's been reframed here as the divine's first choice for you. And that's kind of a slap in the face of free will and individuality, and we don't like that either. So there's some language that's being used here that may force this lesson to slide over us the first few times and make us spiral around this a little bit more. But it's also some very clear language that's meant to burn away whatever fog that we may have from what it's trying to tell us. It's not necessarily being gentle in these. The book's been gentle, but it's been a little less gentle, I think, in this paragraph. And I'm seeing some reports in the chat that Epic is going to blow us away and that it ties our love for him together. And Deborah said that she saw Elvis around Memphis the last time, seeing him was in 1975 and 76, so she can't wait to see Epic. And Elizabeth says that she really likes the Impersonal life, that it's making her think about things in a different way. And Carolyn's asking if Deborah actually saw Elvis in person. Yes, Carolyn, Deborah used to live on Dolan Street, or in that Dolan neighborhood. I don't remember exactly what you had said, Deborah, but if you want to put it in the chat again, feel free. But right there next to Graceland. And so this text says that you may have tried to run away. And then it says that in its selfish craving for a spiritual mate, can attract only one who will force you to a tenfold longer and harder search among the illusions of the mind before you can again awaken to the consciousness of my voice speaking within. This is so interesting because it's saying that if you get someone who's a soulmate, then you guys aren't going to move up the spiral because you're going to be so happy together where you're at. We agree completely. We are celebrating within ourselves. We've done it. We're the unity between us. It says that that is an illusion of the self here, and that it's this mate who won't believe anything about your spiritual quest, the one who keeps opposing you, who's going to drive you forward into your own understanding. And that's exactly what was happening to Elvis, right? He was driven into reading hundreds of spiritual texts and comparing them to each other. And that part of that was Priscilla's inability to follow him on the spiritual spiral. That he kept bringing these things back to her and people like her, saying, look, I found it. I found the way forward. And they kept saying, I don't care. Why do you keep giving me this book? And Deborah said that she could see Elvis out and about on motorcycles and his cars. And Deborah says she lived across the street from Vernon. Oh, that's a very specific spot. I can picture exactly what you're saying now. And Big Buddy Mike is asking if she saw Ginger riding with Elvis on his Harley. And Deborah saying that she was in Baptist Memorial Hospital in 75. And the last time she saw him riding the motorcycles was in 76. So she did not see Ginger, I don't think. And Gunn says that she believes it's a gift to find a soulmate. I think all of us would believe that. So this is a very interesting passage. It's saying you're looking at this the wrong way. There's a different perspective here. I'm trying to show it to you, but I know you're not going to like it. So I'm just going to throw it right out here in this kind of harsh language, and then we can spiral around it and deal with it. And Big Money Mike is saying that it's such an awesome moment that Deborah was able to see him. And Deborah's saying that she and Elvis were in the same hospital at the same time. Of course, he was in a suite upstairs. I'm going to guess that you were in a normal room. But it's still very interesting. What floor were you on by any chance? I think he was on the 7th floor or the 8th floor. I know it was always the same one, but I can't remember the floor number off the top of my head. And Big Money Mike is saying that he bets Deborah could feel the energy of Elvis while they were in the hospital together. And Tori's asking if Deborah ever saw Elvis in concert. In the next passage, it says, for a sympathetic and appreciative mate would only feed the personal pride and selfish desire for spiritual power in you and develop further the egotistic side of your nature. While an unsympathetic mate forces you back upon yourself and compels you to turn within, where I abide. So the I am saying, if I didn't give you a nagging spouse, you wouldn't spend as much time with me. At least that's kind of what it's saying. But again, this is a difficult passage, I think, for a lot of people to accept. Both those who feel that they are in the wrong relationship and those who feel that they're in the right relationship. Joseph Benner has managed to insult both equally in these passages and make it difficult for both to accept his perspective on what's being said. That is just so interesting. But this is where we're going to spiral out of this text and we're going to spiral into something else. But I want to catch up on the chat. Deborah says she was on the 5th floor. So I think Elvis was just 2 or 3 floors above her. And Jen says that we have soulmates, but then there are twin flames, which are absolute equals in eternal loves. But that's for another time. Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. I've never heard of twin flames before. And Deborah says that you could feel an energy, that everyone was abuzz at the hospital, and that she didn't ever see Elvis in concert, but that he did play at the Arena building in 1964 in her town, and that her sister saw him there in concert. Carolyn says that was an amazing passage out of the Impersonal Life. And Big Money Mike says he's not had the opportunity to find his true soulmate unless God gave me one and he didn't accept it. And Carolyn says that last passage explains why she and her husband argue about stuff. And I think all husbands and wives argue, so maybe there is comfort in that passage somewhere. Let's take a look at this envelope that says Miss Leah Zahorsky. Can't be sure I'm pronouncing that right, but you can see how it's spelled here on the screen. 244 West 99th Street, New York, 25, New York. I believe that's New York City, New York. Now, if you look at the postmark at the top of this, I believe there's an issue here. Not with the envelope itself, but with the way that it was presented. It's from Elvis Presley at Graceland, 3764 Highway 51 South, Memphis, Tennessee. Although it says Memphis 10. I'm not sure what's up with these numbers. I guess maybe that's an early form of a zip code of some kind. I've never seen that before. Have you guys seen a number like that? Probably you would have to be an American who had lived around that time back then to see that on address stuff, but I don't ever remember seeing numbers like that. Of course, I came into reading and writing envelopes about the same time that zip codes became mandatory. So they were just kind of new when I started writing on envelopes in the 1st or 2nd grade. This is the letter that was sold with this envelope. Now, the envelope says a postmark of something like April 3rd, 64, I believe is what it says. It's hard to read, and if you blow it up, it just loses all clarity. But it looks like April of 64. I do not believe it's 61. It can't be 62. This letter is dated January 3rd, 1962. I can guarantee that this letter would have been mailed like same day, day after, within a week. It didn't sit around to April of any year. And it didn't sit around till 1964. And it couldn't have been in an envelope that said 1961. So the envelope does not go with this letter. However, I do believe the woman, the female fan, Leah, Miss Leah, that is who the letter went to. It's just that she had several of these letters, and then the envelopes got mixed up or lost or whatever. Hi, Laura. I don't think I've ever seen you in the chat before, so welcome. And Laura says that I can feel this passage because I went through a difficult time in my 21-year marriage in which my husband was behaving like a narcissist and was unemployed. And it took years of arguing to realize I couldn't change him. Very long story short, I changed myself, and within a year, he made changes in his attitude, and he's employed full-time and treats me well. Well, that's a very nice story. Thank you for sharing it with us. And Laura says that she's content now and glad that she stayed. And Carolyn says that marriages are learning, growing experiences. We've all had our ups and downs, and that she's been in her marriage for 29 years, and they've made it together so far and are committed. Now, this letter that we're looking at, January 3rd, 1962, it's from Elvis to the fan, but it wasn't written by Elvis. This is not Elvis's handwriting. One of his secretaries wrote this. My guess is Elvis did not even dictate this. This is part of the machine. The letters come in from we better read this letter before I say that, though. I haven't read it myself, so I don't know if it was dictated or not. But we know that letters come in to the fan office, which is the office at Graceland, and we know they get routinely answered by the secretaries, and that they sign Elvis's name. However, this is kind of a lengthy letter. And Jen says that she agrees, and will have been married 30 years in September. And Deborah's pointing out that Highway 51 became Elvis Presley Boulevard June 9th of 1972. Maybe June 29th, but June of 1972. And this letter says, Happy New Year. So it was January 3rd, and that makes a lot of sense. Happy New Year. It's been a while since I've answered any of your letters, but this one is to thank you for your lonely cards and gifts. Lovely cards and gifts. I'm having a little trouble writing it. Luckily, Elvis did not write this, so it is a little more decipherable. So it says, but this one is to thank you for your lovely cards and gifts I received during Christmas. So this fan had sent him stuff at Christmas time. And it says, and I hope you and yours had a lovely Christmas and have a joyous new year. I didn't get home for Christmas myself as my movie Kid Galahad wasn't completed, but I'm looking forward to a long visit this time, perhaps till early spring. I am glad you enjoyed Blue Hawaii, and I hope you'll enjoy my 2 recent ones as well. Again, let me say thanks for a good year in 61, and hope 62 will be as fine. Keep writing. I enjoy your letters and will answer when I have a few spare moments. Sincerely, Elvis. Well, now that we've read the letter, I will stand by my earlier statement that the secretaries wrote this. It was not dictated. This is kind of a boilerplate answer that's probably was drafted just before the new year. And it probably closely resembles whatever they were using to answer around Christmas. And so they probably do this every year. And now they've transitioned into the New Year thank yous, whatever's they haven't got answered yet. And they're careful to mention, be sure to watch my new movies, which is a marketing thing. There's a thank you for the cards and gifts, so that would be slightly changed. The secretaries, some of the people who sent a lot of stuff, they would recognize those, but others may have only sent one or two things, just a card, so they would have changed that a little bit, said, thank you for the card. They've got this thing about he didn't make it home for Christmas. Well, that's why he's not writing these letters. He's not there to write any letters. And of course, he doesn't really do the fan mail anyway. But it is a very interesting piece. Even though it's not directly from Elvis, I wanted us to take a look at it because it's an extension of Elvis. Elvis set up this machine to make sure that all of his fans were remembered, that they got something personal, that he was not able to spread himself out as much as he wanted to for his fans. And he was able to do that through these proxies of himself, the secretaries. And this is what Vernon is overseeing, that Elvis's love is being transferred onto these sheets of paper, that the love's being received in the first place from the fans as they send their gifts and their letters, and then that the love is being transmitted onto these pieces of paper, and that it's being mailed back to them, that their love is being acknowledged. This is a very important part of the Elvis Presley experience, of what Elvis himself is experiencing. But can you imagine being one of the secretaries and just reading these incredibly lovely letters from these people every single day that are just trying to reach out to Elvis in some way, and that you are responding and sending Elvis's love back to them, even though he's not personally talking to you about it? It's a very interesting piece of Elvis history. Carolyn's saying that USA just won a gold medal in hockey at the Olympics. Well, that's interesting. That's good. And Elizabeth says this is such a nice letter. Laura says that love is a battlefield. That is true. Big Money Mike says it's an interesting letter. And Gunn says that she wrote a letter to once, and that she did not receive a reply. So, yeah, I don't think they could have replied to every letter. They were receiving massive amounts of mail. It is sad that not each and every person could have gotten one, because you can see how lovely this letter is. And Jen says that she would have loved to work for Elvis. And that's where we've got to end it for today. We've reached the end of another hour. And I'm going to send us out of here on a song like I always do. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today, either live or on the replay. And those of you who love to send chats and comments, and those of you who prefer not to. And those of you who watch a few minutes, and those of you who watch the whole broadcast, I appreciate each and every one of you. And you all keep on taking care of business. This is White Cross Shine.
I'm a steam driving rider, rolling through the dawn. Big old pickup truck, Graceland's calling me home. Pulled over by the water, saw that white cross shine. Missed it cold in the sunrise, felt the spirit in my mind. I got the crossfire blues burning deep in my soul. Concrete and eternal, Lord, it makes me whole. From the pasture to the stage, from the ranch to summer pews, I'm singing hallelujah with these crossfire blues. Sat down in the dry grass, hands folded on my knees, peaceful as a prayer, like a good omen breeze. Family by the fire, friends gathering round, that cross stood tall, said this land was holy ground. I got my crossfire blues burning deep in my soul. Concrete and eternal, Lord, it makes me whole. From the pasture to the stage, from the ranch to the pews, I'm singing hallelujah with these crossfire blues. Gave a scar to a child, but the world tore it away. So I took the gold cross from my neck that day. Said, this is yours, baby, no one can take it from you. That's the power of the symbol. That's the gospel truth. Diamond lost in the dust, Priscilla by my side, but the cross kept shining, gave me peace inside.